I have just launched a mastermind called the Circle of Influence, where I'll be taking you under my wing to show you how to build a platform online that generates an income for you so that you can have more freedom in your life. I'm also going to show you how to become a powerful influencer online so that you can score interviews and so you can get exposure on major publications and platforms. And I'm going to even show you how to build these platforms yourself, such as a website, a podcast, a YouTube channel, and a social media following so that you can get your message out there to millions. I'm also going to show you how to network with other incredible leaders online so that you can interview them and so that you can collaborate with them and really show you how to refine your story so that you can share it in an unforgettable way to score more interviews, to score book deals, and to gain more speaking opportunities so that you can become a powerhouse leader. Now, if this speaks to you, make sure you head over to iamjoelbrown.com/apply and get in before I close my doors on this live, interactive, exclusive opportunity where I'm going to go deep with you and with the community of Circle of Influence Game Changers. Don't miss this. Now let's get into this interview. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast. I'm your host, Joel Brown, and I'm here today with Chrissy Metz, who is the star of the hit TV show, This Is Us. She also featured in a new film called Breakthrough with Yvonne Franklin, who is such an incredible guy. And Chrissy, just within herself, the way that she shows up is just so amazing. She keeps this incredible inspirational tone. She's broken through so many barriers in her life. And I love the way that she even just presents her content on social media. And I'm sure through this conversation, you'll be able to get some great pieces of wisdom. Chrissy, I'm so excited for you to jam out today with us, with the Addicted to Success tribe.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting. I've been following you and, we do on Instagram, but like never actually speaking to you or like meeting you. And now we get to have this cool meeting.
Yeah. It's an interesting time that we're in, right? We're either in quarantine or lockdown or whatever's going on. And just before this, you were just saying, like, I see this as a really positive time for us to step into. And I just really love that frame of mind because, there are people that are feeling these fears and they're letting the best get to them. So where's your headspace at right now? What do you do day by day right now that just keeps you in a great place?
Yeah. I just have to say a disclaimer. I am still a human being. I know. Surprise. And so I do have these ebbs and flows of positivity. And then I'm like, oh, and I feel things very deeply and I'm empathetic. So I really try to find, some humor and levity. Donnie, my best friend, and I, if you guys follow me on Instagram or if you know who he is, he keeps everything very light and fun. But we do have these like really in-depth conversations all the time. But what we started sort of talking about is like sort of these highlights of like, how can I show my love or how can I feel love, gratitude, hope, joy, and be of service every day. So that's something that I'm like, okay, so this is my little checklist every day of either giving love or receiving love. It could be just communicating with somebody you haven't before or you haven't talked to them in a minute. Gratitude for literally waking up. Like I even do it as I walk, like before I even put my feet on the floor, I'm like, I'm grateful that I can see, that I can breathe, that I have this beautiful bed that I get to sleep in and my freedom and freedom of speech and all of these things that we might take for granted. And I have, of course, before as well, but there's so much to be grateful for. And then there's so much to be hopeful for, because I think when we get into these times of distress, we're like, oh, we have to solve a problem. And so then people come together. And I think that not only does humanity need to come together, but come together as like your own self and then figuring out like, what is it that you perhaps want to work on or change or improve? And of course, joy. I find a lot of joy in music. I'm a singer. I'm working on a country album right now. And I just love music so much and it puts me in a good mood. But it could be like a bath or it could be, meditating for 5 minutes, whatever you find joy doing. So I just kind of go through that checklist and that's been keeping me grounded. Yeah, it's not always easy, but I find that once I do it and I'm consistent with it, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, I like that. It sounds like you have a very supercharged day when you run by those routines. I love it. Speaking of singing, you were singing at the Oscars
Yeah.
recently. How was that experience? That's crazy because I know parts of your story, right? I know that you were assisting your agent
Hmm.
many years back, and you were just seeing all these people getting these roles in movies, and you're just watching it happen. You're like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then to go from that to then singing at the Oscars. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, it is insane. It's like when people like say it for me, I'm like, oh, I'm like hearing what I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that. And speaking of Devon Franklin, who was the producer of Breakthrough and of course a dear friend, he taught me something so beautifully profound. And he said, you have to carry a crown before you can wear one. And that was like, that's what I was doing when I was an assistant and then an agent. Like
Wow.
I was learning how to be of service and to figure out, do I really want this? And do I want it for the right reasons? And, by the grace of God, the universe, conspiring, I think it always is conspiring for us. Um, that, Diane Warren has been somebody that I've listened to all my life. And then for her to write the song of a movie that I led 4 years into the acting game, really. And then singing at the Oscars, I'm like, what is my life? Like, what?
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. And I think it's because I stay in so much gratitude that, as I'm sure we all know, that like you can't keep anything you don't give away. So that becomes cyclical. And so the more gratitude you have, the more you receive, and, the more you can give and the more you can receive. So I'm just so grateful for that experience. And it happened like in a flash. And I can say like, oh, I sang at the Oscars, so, but again, and also on the other side of it, I try not to attach to anything, right? So it's not like, oh, if I did a terrible job, I'm the worst person in the world. It's like, that was a moment in time that was incredible, but it doesn't completely define me. So I always
Yeah.
have to find the balance. So I'm a Libra too. So I always got to find it.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah, I find that really interesting, that conversation around achievements and then how do you feel before and after. I had the opportunity to feature in a film called Think and Grow Rich, right? And I remember that feeling that was just brewing in my body leading up to the red carpet, the movie premiere, and it was just like this incredible feeling. I'm like, I've made it kind of feeling. And then
Yeah.
it happened, and it was amazing. But then the next day, I had this kind of come down effect. What goes up must come down, right? And I was thinking to myself, like, wow, like what else is there? And obviously there was some press and other things that happened after it, but it just starts to just kind of pan itself out. And then you realize, if this was supposed to be just it, then all of my happiness is going to rely on the achievements and the accolades and not the day by day thing. So I'm actually really grateful for the fact that that's not the thing that's supposed to fully fill our cup.
Right. Exactly. You said it much more eloquently than I did. But it's so true. It's so, so true. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean something to you and it's not an incredible, accomplishment, but it's that there is a balance between
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Well, it's a piece to the puzzle. That's really what it is, to the bigger puzzle, right?
Right.
And I think that more importantly, the fact that you saw the vision, because I talk about the vision a lot. It's a really powerful piece to have your 5-year, 10-year vision, to get really clear, to visualize your day, right? It's like you saw this vision of you acting in this role that you heard about for This Is Us, and you're like, I'm not even, you're gonna fight skin, tooth, hair, and nail to get it, because you're like, this is me, this is it, this is my opportunity, this is the window, let's do it, right? And it was almost like, because you did that, and like Devon Franklin said, basically it's like heavy as the head that wears the crown, right? If you can carry the crown, then you can, continue to rule the kingdom or whatever it may be in your space. But for you, I think it was really the person you've become in the process, that you get to now become even more confident in the way that you show up in other roles and other opportunities, because you did the hard yards in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it was a 12-year journey. I lived in LA on literally peanuts, working, just trying to pay the bills. And yeah, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, because I got to learn so much and everything that I needed to acquire to even be ready for this point in space and time in my life. And, you know, it's hard to see the forest through the trees, but on the other side of it, you're like, oh, that was for that. Uh-huh. Okay. So it all, you know, makes sense.
Yes, 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 yes. So, Chrissy, the TV show This Is Us, I've watched quite a few episodes. I think I watched most of the first season. I love it. I absolutely love it because I feel like it takes you on this journey. It's one of those shows where you just want to keep watching it. And if you're listening to this right now, you're watching this right now, if you're in quarantine or lockdown, now is a perfect time to sit down and watch some really good TV shows on Netflix. And This Is Us definitely is one of them. And so with This Is Us, what do you feel is like the biggest lesson, if you were able to extract maybe just one or two really big lessons that comes from that show so far that you would love to instill in others? What would those two lessons be?
Well, oh goodness, there's so many. I think for me, you know, people might have heard this part of my story before, but I was like the new girl in school who was like, oh, you know, everybody else has lists of credits and resume a mile long, and I've been working for 20 plus years. And this was my first professional gig. And I was like, do I deserve it? Like, A, do I deserve it? B, can I even do it? And like, how do I go toe to toe with these incredible actors who I've been fans of and who I've been watching? And the biggest lesson for me was like, the only thing I can do is suit up and show up. So be prepared, do the footwork, and just show up. And also be open, because it's such a collaborative art that my ego would be like, well, if I made a choice as the character, and the director's like, let's try it some way different. And I would take it so personally. And I'm like, Chrissy, this is not called This Is Kate Pearson. It's called This Is Us. And you're here to be a part of an amazing show, but you're a really important part, but it's not all about you. And there's a lot of other components. So I just felt like I had to be as open and honest and vulnerable as I possibly could. And vulnerable, I'm very capable of being, but that ego is so loud. And as soon as someone's like, well, let's try it this way, I would, the first season I would sort of like go to my chair and like, I'm like, okay, Chrissy, it's not that it wasn't a good choice. There just might be a better choice. And so it was really about moving through that uncomfortability of, you know, maybe there's maybe this director who has 30 years of experience might know how he wants the story to go. Oh, and also it's a collaborative art. So it's really about suiting up, showing up, being open and honest and vulnerable. And that, of course, has led me to be that way, not only in my personal life, but also with music that I'm now doing. So it all is a ripple effect.
Yeah, everything's touching everything. You can extract lessons from one experience and then bring it into another so you can show up more powerfully in that next space.
Right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I know when I speak at events around the world, it's interesting. When I first started, and I'm sure you can relate because I know that you're on the speaking circuit too. You like to get out and share inspirational stories and share advice. I've seen like a lot of people drawn to that content that you're putting out, which is amazing. I love it. I know that when I first started, I made it so much about me that I needed it to be perfect, right? I wanted to sound smart. I practiced my lines. I was so in my head. I wasn't in my body because I was trying to impress. Because if I impressed, it meant that I was good enough. And I think that the key here, and like, I'd love for you to drop in on your advice too, but it's like getting out of your head and going, there's got to be someone in the room that's going to resonate with this. It doesn't have to be everybody. But if I share my message in a way that's authentic,
right, then
that's the best that I can do.
That's what you're supposed to do. In fact, it's even better than best because that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And that's something that, like, I think, well, I know personally, but we all contend with because we all want to be loved. I always say this, but like, we buy the house and the car and we want to look a certain way because we want to be validated, because we want to be loved, because we want to be accepted. And when we can be our authentic selves, which is a practice, doesn't always, please be gentle with yourself in the process. But like that is when somebody gets exactly what they need from you. And that's exactly what you were supposed to give them. And you're supposed to be whether it's imperfect, whether it's you started too soon or too late, or I can't even tell you how many mistakes I've made and how many I probably just made in the last 5 minutes, but whatever, like I'm just trying to be present and authentic, and like that's what will come across. So that's just what we have to do.
Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. So let's say someone is putting content out, or they are stepping in for the first time on their big dream.
Mm-hmm.
How do we deal with the haters, right? Because the truth is, as much as we have the fear of rejection, some of it's a little bit valid, because when you're putting yourself out there, you're now under a magnifying glass, especially on social media, or you're getting in on a TV show, and people may not agree. Society may have its certain standards, and then like cast judgment on you. And I know that you're such a great example of someone that just like goes against the norms and just goes, like I'm me, I'm fully me, and this is who I am, this is where I'm at. How do we navigate this?
Oh, this is a very layered and huge concept. So when you say I go against the norms, it's interesting that like we have norms, right? Because like every single one of us is different, but it's like what mass media and what we've been sort of conditioned to believe we should look like, sound like, smell like, feel like, whatever, fill in the blank. And then there's, this is who I am at this point in time in my life. And then this is the art that I want to create, whether you're a speaker, an author, an actor, a singer, whatever is coming from you, your soul, your spirit, your mind, your heart, like that's what you're supposed to share. And people are going to get it. And there's some people who aren't, and there's going to be some that could care less. You focus on the people who do care, and I think you get sort of courage and bolstered and strength from them. But then also know that like, I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown. I'm sure you are, but she.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's that beautiful analogy of like people talking so much crap about her from the cheap seats. And it's like, you've never been in the ring. You've never sweat. You've never had this blood dripping from your, like you don't know what it's like. So how can you judge me? But it's really easy, of course, to do that behind a computer screen or a phone. And so for me, the only time I get upset when somebody might say something or give me a critique or share their opinion is when it resonates with something deep inside of me. So if it's something that I'm working on, or something that I know I want to work on and I feel like I need to change, that's when it like, ooh, that stings. I'm like, oh God, okay. And it forces me to look at that differently. Only if I want to change it. You know what I mean? Like it only stings because there's something deep within about that particular.
Yeah, because you're judging it yourself.
Exactly. And then it's also, it's not, what somebody thinks about you is really not your business. And like we said before, like you can't attach to these incredible moments of your life. You can't really attach to the good or the bad. You can say, okay, thank you for both, but this is who I sit in the middle with, and this is who I am. And thank you for that beautiful compliment. And thank you for your opinion that I'm not going to attach to. And when you're confident and you've done like the work, you can say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm imperfect. I'm a human. Maybe I'll do better next time. But also like, you know what? That was great. It might not have been great to you, but I enjoyed it. And that's another thing of speaking or performing, acting. So much of what the audience gets is about the person performing. Are they having a good time? Are you enjoying what you speak about? Am I enjoying what I sing about? Like that will emit from the person. And so I just really can't, I can't worry about what people say negatively about me, because it's their perception, and their perception is their reality. It doesn't mean that's what's real, right? Everybody always says like nobody sees the tree the same way I see a tree. And so yeah. I can't attach to that. And it's a process, and some days are better than others. But I just feel like you have to do what you feel good doing, and not worry about what other people negatively have to say. And the positive, it's like, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that, because we all need cheerleaders, but also know that your opinion of yourself is what matters most. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I have this framework that I often teach with my clients and my students. And I've basically found through interviewing hundreds of successful people over the years that there are patterns that they live by. And there are these 4 dimensions that I identified that just kept showing up. And it was that they really strongly played in these 4 areas. The 4 areas were the values. They knew what their values were and they stayed in alignment with their values. The second one is they knew what their beliefs were. If you ask them, like, what do you believe about yourself to be true? They were just so quickly able to jump in and say, this, I am this, I am this, I am this. The third one was habits. So they committed to their habits. And the fourth one is skill acquisition, or hiring those skills to be able to level up. For you, what do you believe to be true about you? What do you think what beliefs do you hold in your mind that you tell yourself quite often that you feel has really just powered you through your days?
Yeah, I'm incredibly hardworking. I know that. That I love very deeply, and that I am vulnerable in a way that allows me to receive constructive criticism, or, how do I'm up for a challenge. I'm up for maybe a redirection or whatnot. And that has sort of been cultivated throughout my adulthood, because in my childhood, it was a little touch and go. It was a bit of a tumultuous childhood in some regards. So, I think that I'm hardworking. I'm up for a challenge, and I love very deeply. And that's right.
Yeah, these are really powerful stories that we tell ourselves. I love it. Well, what would be maybe a couple limiting stories that still come up for you?
Oh, that I'm not enough.
Okay.
Right, like, oh, I didn't go to an art school. I didn't go to Tisch. I didn't go to Juilliard, and so that means I'm not an actress or a performer. And I didn't have a formal education, and so maybe I'm not as smart.
Even with the Oscars and the TV show and the movie.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, for sure. And, if acting is nothing but reacting, then, I understand logically, but those are still those thoughts that come into mind. Like, do you really deserve to sing at the Oscars? Like, I don't, there's all these incredible musicians who've been doing this forever and actually play an instrument or can read music. I mean, I can not very well read music. I did a bit of it in high school, but, so those are the things that maybe I'm not really equipped to do this. So.
I love this. Thank you so much for being human. I really appreciate that. What's your experience with people coming up to you in public? Do you find that people come up to you often and share their stories?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's probably not one time I've gone out since the start of the show that somebody hasn't approached me, whether it's, oh my goodness, my father passed away and I actually watch, football with his ashes in his urn, what? I had no idea that, the show, just when you think it's a little too far-fetched, you're like, oh, people really do this. Or, one woman shared that she adopted a little kid who was African-American and she's Caucasian. And she's like, I genuinely didn't know how to cut his hair, or do I apply sunscreen, or, and I have cried in bathrooms with strangers, not kidding, about everything and anything. I think the show just shows us how do we deal with life on life's terms. And so that is explained through so many people's small stories, huge life events. But it's why we do art, to connect. The show is so special, and obviously I'm biased, but I'm able to talk to people. One little boy, his mom shared with me that he was going to an eating disorder clinic, 10 years old, and that I had inspired him, and that just, accepting myself and loving myself for as I am. And I'm crying on the airplane, reading this note from his mom, so it happens all the time. And it's such an amazing thing. Every time I'm okay, I'm going to brace myself because I don't know what's coming this time. I go to the grocery store. So.
Well, you probably have a bit of a break from that now with this quarantine happening.
Which is I'm kind of like, gosh, I kind of miss it. Like I miss, but luckily there's, ways to connect, and thank goodness for Instagram and Facebook Live and all these ways to connect with people all over the world, or, that might feel alone, but you're like, you're not. We're just, there's just distance, but you're not alone. So yeah.
Oh, I love this. So much juicy content. Thank you so much, Chrissy. I love it. What would you say was the lowest point in your life?
Only one?
Share a couple, but then more importantly, like, yeah, share the painful points. But I think if you then share like what came next, what was the breakthrough? What was that defining thing that you did that just broke you through?
Yeah. So I moved to Los Angeles when I was 20, almost 21. And I moved into an apartment with 6 girls on air mattresses. It was like pilot season summer camp. It was super fun. But I watched all those girls go on auditions and took them on auditions. And I had one in the span of 4 months that I almost didn't make because my manager was like, "Where's your headshot?" And I left it at the apartment. It was a mess. Then she asked me, like, or she didn't ask me, she was like, "You need to go be your agent's assistant." And I felt so broken because I was like, I did all of this to get prepared to come to LA to try to pursue acting. And now I'm going to work in an office. And what if my agent doesn't want to represent me? And what if she hates me? And then I started from square one. And what I then, of course, realized that I touched on a little bit earlier was that, like, all of those moments were preparing me for, every single time that a new actor would come in and I would have a conversation with them, I was learning media skills and how to engage with people on a red carpet or with the media, anytime we did press, like all of those things were sort of lining up. So, but it was really difficult because I thought everything that I came out to LA for sort of just fizzled. And then I really put it on the back burner for 9 years when I was an agent. And then I would have a few auditions here and there, but it was when I did an arc on American Horror Story, the 4th season Freak Show, which was incredible. Masterclass acting, Jessica Lange, Kathy Bates, forget about it, amazing. And I just knew that my career was going to jump off, like, whoo, yeah, here we go. No, nothing happened for like a year, and I went back to being an agent. And I was just defeated. And I was like, I can't sit behind a desk and do this. Like, I want to help people, but I can't, I don't think this is my lot in life. And so I didn't have any auditions. I was like, what am I telling the universe? Like, I need to show, like, what is the energy that I'm emitting? I'm like, why don't I just try to pursue acting full time? And so I got on unemployment. I left, made sure all my clients were taken care of, went on unemployment, and nothing happened. And not kidding you, like, one of my dear friends, Gina, she said, "Chrissy, I know you're good for it. It's going to happen for you, but come live with me and pay rent, pay whatever you can, whenever you can." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know when you're going to get paid back, baby. I don't know. And she's like, "Well, I do, and I'm not worried about it." So I was struggling, like, literally did not have enough money to put in my gas tank to go to the This Is Us audition. And, you have, at least in America, you have to have $20 in your bank account for it to be swiped to get gas.
Yeah.
Or petrol. You guys call it petrol, right?
We call it petrol over here, but how much do you reckon you had in the bank account?
Well, I had 81 cents.
81 cents?
Yeah. No savings.
Oh my Lord.
And that's yeah. In that time of my life, I never had a savings account. I've always worked paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth. And so I literally, called my mom and I was like, I think I should just come back to Gainesville, Florida, where I'm from. And like, what am I going to do? Teach preschool, teach acting to little kids? And she's like, well, you can be miserable in LA pursuing what you want, or you could be miserable in Gainesville. And I'm like, ugh.
Wow.
Oh
Speaking truth.
Speaking truth. Moms do that. They really do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know. And so when I went to the audition, like, it definitely felt different, the audition process, but I never thought that I would actually get the job. ever. I never tested for a show. I was 2 weeks from moving back home after spending 12 years in Los Angeles, not seeing my family for, you know, many holidays, not seeing nieces and nephews grow up. And I'm like, was this all in vain? You know, like, this is so silly. Maybe I've been delusional for all this time. And so that was probably one of the bleakest moments in my life, when I had nothing, was literally asking for money for gas to go to an audition that I thought I would never get. So that was really hard, especially because it was 12 years of that weight on my shoulders, and shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you know, singing all that. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this. Wow, what a powerful breakthrough. It reminds me of that story, 3 Feet from Gold, in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
oh
Like,
yeah.
you were so close. Like, if imagine if you gave up at that point. You're like, you know what? There's 81 cents in my bank account. Screw this. Like, it's so fortunate for you that you just hung in there. And what's really cool about that is you get to then share that story, and other people now. And if you're listening right now, you may be in a very similar situation. You could be so close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, literally getting teary-eyed hearing you say that, because yeah, it really could have been like 2 more days and I would have been like, I just can't anymore. And the only reason why I kept going, because that's always the second question, is like, how, what, like what? I mean, obviously I had a great circle of friends who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, but also, like, I always say this, but like, you're never given a vision without a provision. So like, I never wanted to do it for fame or fortune. Like, I just wanted to be a part of something and to tell stories. And I'm like, if that's what's meant to be, like, then that's just what's meant to be. Like, I feel like I have to do it. And so I think you hold on to that, hold on to the reason why, what your reason why is.
Yeah. And it shaped you into the person you needed to be in order to fill that role, not just in the TV show, but as you are now, to continue to inspire others. And even Devon Franklin, you know, I remember recently someone asked me, what do you fear? And I said, I fear not living in my full potential. And then I heard Devon's version of potential, and he said, I just want to just every day squeeze out my potential. He said, one day I'm going to stand before God and he's going to say, Devon, I gave you this much potential, and like with his arms stretched out wide, and said, and you only did this, with his like fingers close together. And like, I remember hearing that going, wow, that to me is just, that's life. Right. And what's really cool is you flexed your potential in that moment where you could have gone the other way.
Yeah. I know it's not easy, guys. I know it's not easy, because you're like, no, I don't know if I can hold on any longer, but like, it really is. And it's also about the journey, not always about the destination, but how do you show up every day? Like Devon was saying, like, how do you squeeze that potential out every day? And that hard work, it pays off. Like, that energy pays off. So
Yeah. Amen to that. All right. I love it. So we're going to wrap up the interview soon. I just love these wisdom bombs that you're dropping. Thanks a million for doing that. That's amazing. I want to know, what's it like being a popular actress, having the celebrity that you do and the fame? Because I love the way that you show up in a way where you can see that you're not attached to the status per se. But
thank you.
like, do these thoughts come to your mind sometimes? Does the ego come up to play? How do you navigate this?
Oh, the ego. Oh yeah. I mean, even what we're experiencing right now, it's all like falling, the ego is all falling away. What we're attached to, who we think we are, what our identity could be, we thought it was. Right. Like, I, just like with my weight or the amount in my bank account, like, that's not my identity. And luckily I didn't grow up wealthy, and we had some struggles, and I just know that money, status, any of that, like, that doesn't define us. Who we are every day, like who I am. Like, if someone says, oh my gosh, do you know Chrissy Metz? Oh, I think she's so, like, I always think about that. Like, what do people think? What do I admit? What do What do people receive from me? And that's really what I kind of hold on to, is like who I show up as every day. But like it's all could be very fleeting, just as it wasn't, it could not be. So I'm like, God forbid, but like I don't know when our show's coming back because we don't know what's going to happen, you know. But I can be loving and kind and supportive and encouraging and all these other things that really matter. And I always say this, and it might be redundant, but like the only thing that matters is how we treat each other. The bottom line about anything. And so I just know that, you know, what comes up must go down, and things can be fleeting, and people have ebbs and flows in their careers. And I just want to be a good person. So I'm so grateful that I get to do something that I love to do. I cry sometimes on the way to work because I'm like, this is my life. This is my job. Like, let me do what you want me to do. Thy will, not mine, be done. So, yeah, I just try not to attach to it because I can't. Like, also, it was a gift to me, so I don't want to spoil it, you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's gratitude right there. It's like God is blessing you tenfold because you're aware of the gift that it is. And I think we've all got to check in on that. I've got to do it too, you know, like that's why the practice of gratitude, like you said at the start of this conversation, was that's a practice for you on the daily. It's not like you do it once a week and then the rest of it, you just like, give me. It's all very much, I'm so appreciative for this life.
Yeah. I mean,
especially in this time too, like with coronavirus, and it's so humbling in this time.
Oh yeah. It will, it's just like, you know, anything, like if, I'm sure we've heard it in many different, you know, ways, but like, if you're not getting a message, eventually you're going to get the message. It's going to put you on your butt. Like, you're going to have to get it. Like, it's not about, do you want to receive it? It's, no, it's here. And like, now we really have to deal with it. And that's sort of, I think, what we're doing now is like this infrastructure and our egos and our greed and our pride is really being tested. And the only thing that can happen is like a rebirth of new and change. And I know a lot of people are really scared about it, and that's a natural feeling. Fear, but feelings aren't facts, my friend and I always say, and they go like waves, they come and go. So just try to hold on to the gratitude and what you can be grateful for. Like, there is so much to be grateful for, even if you're not, you know, people are like, oh, I don't have a job. And I'm like, be grateful that you get to spend time with your family, you know, fill in the blank. You guys can find that out because it's such a personal thing. But, and I do believe that everything happens for a reason. And I personally believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chrissy, this has been such an amazing conversation. I just honor you and respect you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and just everything you brought into the space today. I feel is so needed right now in this day and time. So thank you for jumping in with us.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And I hope you stay well and everybody stay well. And maybe I'll actually see you one day.
I'm sure.
So if you come to the US, if you come to LA or Nashville, let me know. I'd love to meet you in person.
Sounds great. Yeah, let's at some point connect, probably on a stage somewhere at some transformational event. I think that would be pretty amazing.
Love that. Put that in the universe. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's going in the 10-year vision or the 5-year vision. Let's do that.
Or the 3. Yeah.
Or the 3. There you go. Hey, anything's possible. I love it.
Anything.
Great attitude. Love it. So Chrissy, how can we find you online? Where would you say is the best place to go searching for you, and or anything like new projects or anything you got coming out that you'd love people to check out?
Check out Chrissy Metz on Instagram. I think I'm there mostly. And then I have, of course, a Facebook, Chrissy Metz Official. And I also have a Facebook group called The Dreamers, which is sort of a fan group for my new music coming out. The new single, Talking to God, actually comes out on Friday. I'm really, really excited about that. And I hope it brings some peace to people, especially during these times. So you can check me out there.
Yes, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so Chrissy, I end the interview with this last question, okay? And this question here is, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? Your parting advice.
Stay humble, stay kind, and love each other unconditionally.